A quiet alchemy lab sits filled with tools. A green-haired man hums a cheerful tune while working. Hermie wakes up in a state of total confusion. The black-haired woman screams at her captor in fury. Deep despair sets in over the sudden chaos. A carriage rolls toward its next destination. Hermie, guild treasurer, screams for help after being kidnapped. The mage silences the tiny woman trapped in the cage. He explains his research funds ran dry. They argue over who is to blame for her state. The mage startles as she challenges his accusations. Hermie demands payment for her guild's stolen goods. She turns away to reclaim what is rightfully hers. A splash sounds as she drops the gem into liquid. Hermie officially reclaims the magical fairy's tear. The gem glows with a powerful, surging light. The mage watches the reaction with pure glee. Hermie suddenly regains her original human form. Success is declared as she trembles in her new body. The bumpy carriage ride continues through the desert. Hermie laments her guild's impending bankruptcy. The mage leans in with a mysterious request. He proposes a simple acting job to earn money. Hermie worries about being abandoned in this tiny state. The fear of being small forever haunts her thoughts. She grips her covering in silent distress. She reluctantly asks for the details of his plan. He envisions her playing the role of a fairy. Rare creatures fetch high prices from eccentric nobles. She accuses him of being a common criminal. He puts on his best, totally honest face. Hermie demands a formal written contract for protection. A scratching pen sounds as they finalize the deal. She finds a major loophole in the success date. Whistling is a great way to avoid her questions. Hermie adds strict requirements for official certification. The mage secures the contract for himself. She delivers a fierce threat to spill his secrets. The carriage rolls into a sun-drenched landscape. A quick rustle sounds as he grips the fabric. They debate her lack of wings and sparkling dust. He plans to market her as a rare specimen. The target's name leaves her completely speechless. History reveals the Marquis is an obsessive collector. His impossible standards have ruined many merchants. The mage tells her to hush as they arrive. Hermie fears being ruined by his reckless scam. He requests a high-stakes audience with the Marquis. The guard looks at the cage in total confusion. Hermie fears for their lives if the truth is found. The green-haired mage demands her cooperation. Hermie screams about being sold like property. He warns her not to swear anymore. The blonde Marquis notes the late-night noise. He promises the Marquis will be satisfied. The Marquis questions the caged fairy's identity. The mage panics as he reaches out. Magic seals are applied to the cage. Hermie detests being treated like a pet. She is stunned by his handsome face. A grand palace room stands completely empty. A soft, curious sound echoes inside. The Marquis stares intently at the cage. Hermie wonders if he suspects their scam. They stand tensely in the moonlit courtyard. His beauty leaves her completely breathless. She imagines him as the real fairy. He notes her small size with curiosity. The mage makes excuses for her form. Hermie fears his acting will ruin them. The mage sweats under the high stakes. Fears of execution haunt her dark thoughts. She practices the behavior of a fairy. The Marquis looks surprised by her actions. Hermie puts on a tearful, magical display. He watches her performance with cold eyes. The mage panics when she hides again. She calculates the behavior of wild fairies. Her determination shines through her small form. The mage shakes her cage in fury. She rolls around, dizzy from his hope. Nausea sets in from the violent shaking. The Marquise's hand stops the mage's harassment. He demands to check her condition personally. Hermie believes her acting successfully worked. They stand together as the deal progresses. The mage asks to lift her covering. Hermie screams that she is totally naked. A sudden tug reveals her bare skin. The Marquise stares at his new prize. A sudden, loud hiccup escapes her lips. The night sky hangs over the palace. Despair takes hold as she huddles away. He looks down with a silent expression. He asks the final price for her. The mage boasts about his difficult catch. A massive offer of gold is made. The mage bows in greedy, joyful gratitude. The Marquis takes her to inspect magic. He whispers a final warning to her. Hermie delivers a fierce, whispered threat to the sweating mage. He nervously assures the Marquis the magic is perfectly stable. The blonde Marquis questions the tiny creature's ability to speak. The mage invents a name and promises future cooperation. Hermie listens in total disbelief from within her cage. A gentle smile reveals the Marquise's genuine interest in her. Peeking out, she finds the noble's behavior completely baffling. He notes with concern that she hasn't touched her food. A sudden, sharp sound startles her as he turns away. She watches cautiously, wondering if he has finally left. Hunger takes over as she eyes a massive, juicy cherry. She clings to the fruit while plotting her eventual escape. An older gentleman arrives to assist the blonde Marquis. Deep in thought, the noble reflects on his new acquisition. Memories of childhood curiosity surface as he sits alone. He admits that her cuteness left a lasting impression. His usual careful verification process was completely ignored this time. He reflects on the impulsiveness of his latest rare purchase. A sudden realization hits that he never appraised her. An overwhelming desire to possess her drove his actions. Her continued refusal to eat or reveal herself worries him. A weary sigh follows his realization that living tools are difficult. The carriage arrives at a magnificent, sunlit royal estate. He enters a lush garden filled with exotic, resting beasts. Colorful wings flutter as he notes the growing collection here. He focuses his attention on a specific target ahead. A purple-haired man relaxes nearby with a white bird. The Marquis approaches to discuss his unusual new pet. The bird delivers a loud, squawking insult at the visitor. The purple-haired man laughs heartily at the bird's wit. Annoyance flits across his face while seeking professional advice. They settle in to discuss the matter without further argument. Shock colors the noble's face at the unexpected response. The expert reacts in disbelief to the mention of hamsters. A sudden, quick tap sounds as he defends his choice. The purple-haired man mocks his friend's sudden change in taste. The Marquis feels the heat of embarrassment during the interrogation. He remembers his past fear of shedding fur and damage. They debate the previous failure of a massive white tiger. The expert agrees that starting with smaller creatures is wise. The noble seeks guidance from the man who knows animals best. He gestures to describe her incredibly tiny, sensitive nature. He imagines a shy hamster while asking about her appetite. The Marquise fears for her health if the fasting continues. He listens intently, a soft sigh escaping his lips. The expert suggests improving the comfort of her living space. A small house is recommended to provide a sense of security. He realizes she shares the same hiding instincts as rodents. The purple-haired man asks if he has tried physical contact. He explains the joy of slowly taming a wild creature. The blonde Marquis dismisses the appeal of tiny things. The purple-haired man aggressively defends the joy of small animals. He explains that handling creatures makes them less fearful. The Marquis considers the possibility of Hermie following him. Memories of a smiling, brown-haired woman fill his mind. He envisions the woman laughing amidst a flurry of flowers. Lost in contemplation, the noble ponders his next move. The scene shifts to the intricate patterns of closed doors. A sudden, soft talk sounds as he approaches the cage. He focuses on the first step of taming tiny creatures. He turns away, leaving the small woman alone in the library. Hermie peeks out, baffled by his strange, sudden behavior. She watches suspiciously as he begins to unbutton his collar. A startled gasp escapes her as his shirt comes off. The Marquis reveals a shockingly muscular, well-defined physique. Hermie peeks through her fingers, overwhelmed by his impressive build. His broad shoulders and solid back leave her speechless. She blushes, justifying her curiosity since she has seen everything. The noble stands shirtless, radiating an intense, quiet power. Panic sets in as he moves closer to the cage. She trembles, wondering if his stern expression means he is angry. Hermie defends her small appetite after leaving her food untouched. He watches in awe as she devours a massive cherry. A deep blush creeps over his face while watching her eat. He struggles with a destructive urge to possess her completely. A gentle talk sounds as he taps the cage bars. He resolves to call her name often to close the gap. The purple-haired expert's advice on taming echoes in his mind. He smiles warmly, hoping her guard will drop eventually. The scene shifts to a grand room filled with covered furniture. A soft, rhythmic salsa sounds as a maid sweeps the floor. She stops suddenly, noticing something unusual on the floor. She finds a piece of cotton and plans to replace it. A relieved pew echoes from within the covered birdcage. A sharp whick sounds as Hermie grumbles about her secret disposal method. She recalls the Marquise's baffling gift of a hamster home. Huddling in her cage, she knows this life cannot continue. Determination flickers as she plans to change her situation soon. The Marquis stands nearby, his gaze fixed on the cage. A sudden, scuttling hooter-duck sounds as she dives for cover. A loud Kudentang crash prompts him to shout and worry. He asks if she is hurt while she tells him to shut up. Intense embarrassment colors her face as she hides from him. He reaches out gently, asking to check for any injuries. A moment of quiet tension passes between the two. He offers treats with a bright, charming, and hopeful smile. A soft rustle sounds as she finally decides to emerge. He watches her intently, his face flushed with deep emotion. The scene lingers on the Marquis as he leans closer. He feels a wave of satisfaction as she accepts food. The purple-haired expert drools over tea. Fruak shares his latest proud discovery. Sarcastic disbelief meets his doting praise as the expert calls Froid a fool, while the blonde noble marvels at Hermie's tiny hands. Hermie's cute snacking warms the Marquis' heart while he watches her devour a massive treat. An invitation to see her is rejected. A firm refusal silences his friend's curiosity. Their heated garden debate continues over tea. Froy remains composed during the argument. Dramatic frustration erupts as the expert yells while Frock calmly claims Hermie has opened her heart. Shocked disbelief follows the naming of Hermie. Frock contemplates his true growing feelings. Dark memories of childhood abuse from his stepmother and a tragic horse accident surface as he reflects on his painful past. Despair follows his tragic public downfall. He struggled desperately to stand back up. Painful childhood scars still haunt his mind. A mother's fairy tales brought him comfort. Youthful dreams of magic once took flight. He yearned deeply for a real fairy. The expert dismisses his fairy tale dreams. Nostalgic memories guide Froid's current obsession. Ethereal beauty radiates from her long hair. Frox watches his pet with deep joy. Taming through treats begins to work wonders. A sudden gasp startles the tiny girl. Frog tries hiding his amused, surprised reaction. Genuine, joyful laughter escapes the blonde noble while Hermie watches him with complete confusion. Hermie's beauty rivals any legendary fairy tale. Ruthless rumors about driving his family out penniless continue to haunt his public name. Tales of betrayal follow his cold reputation. Arrogant coldness defined his lonely public image. People see a heartless, bloodless monster. His flustered face betrays his soft heart. Bonding time increases with more red berries. Hermie plots her temporary stay and meal. A gentle talk sounds as he tops. Startled screams echo within the small cage. Her angry glare questions his suspicious motives. He clarifies his playful intentions very gently. Intricate details adorn his noble white attire. Confusion and suspicion cloud her racing thoughts. He offers a warm and reassuring smile. His kindness confuses the small, wary girl. Coaxing her out requires more tasty persuasion. Drooling starts at the sight of pie. Skepticism battles with her intense, sudden hunger. She devours the fragrant and sweet pie. Pure joy radiates from the delicious snack. Laughter follows her funny, excited reaction, while Fra watches her enjoy the treat with amusement. Embarrassment flares at a mention of bathwater. Fra is baffled by her unexpected words. Froy wonders if fairies ever need to bathe. He promises to bring her water right away. Hermie reacts with a sudden, angry outburst. She flatly refuses to bathe in front of him. He suggests pouring the water from above instead. Hermie demands he simply open the cage door. A sudden, startling splash of water enters. She yells about her intense, burning embarrassment. The blonde Marquis is puzzled by her modesty. He promises to keep his eyes tightly closed. A steady, gentle stream of water fills the cage. Hermie relaxes while washing her hair behind bars. She reflects on the great importance of cleanliness. Fra continues pouring while offering a soft apology. He peeks, unable to resist her cute appearance. He realizes she is far smarter than any parrot. He asks if she has finished her bath. Hermie desperately begs for anything to wear. Sunlight filters through the empty garden cage. She huddles under a cloth, drying off slowly. The noble watches her with wide-eyed, silent surprise. Froy asks if she has fallen fast asleep. A gentle smile warms his handsome features. He bids the tiny girl a quiet good night. Hermie rejoices over her new, perfectly fitting dress. He asks if the white clothes are comfortable. Shock follows her mention of finally going outside. Her wings flutter as she suddenly, magically vanishes. The cage stands empty after her sudden departure. Hermie flies away, bidding him a final farewell. Froix wakes up screaming in sudden, panicked terror. He clutches his chest, gasping for his breath. Relief washes over him as the nightmare ends. Hermie rubs her eyes, waking up very slowly. Sunlight streams in during their soft morning talk. Froix walks toward her cage, checking her sleep. Hermie admits she'll be lonely while he works. He reflects on his past, comfortable life alone. She reaches out, calling his name very softly. Her radiant, happy smile completely dazzles the noble. He feels defenseless against her direct, pure affection. Her adorable nature completely overwhelms his lonely heart. Froix asks if her toys are simply insufficient. Hermie sighs, bored of playing by herself. He remains terrified she will disappear if freed. Hermie is stunned by his sudden, kind invitation. Frock offers to take her for a walk. He carries the cage out into the garden. Hermie gazes at the outdoor world with wonder. Froy asks if she enjoys the beautiful Barvin. Hermie reassures him she is okay. She smiles brightly, enjoying the air. Froik rejoices in their garden outing. He envisions her as a fairy. A tight grip signals his intensity. He asks Hermie to wait patiently. She wonders where he is going. Hermie sighs over her difficult role. Doubts about her situation begin surfacing. She reflects on her tiring routine. Acting like a toddler feels exhausting.
A frustrated "arg" escapes her lips.
She imagines berating him for imprisonment. She wants to demand real respect. Reality keeps her silent and fearful. Maintaining his affection is her priority. A man warns about noble contempt. She resolves to hide her complaints. Sudden footsteps signal his return. Hermie looks up with renewed curiosity. Fra presents a beautiful hydrangea bouquet. He offers the flowers with charm. He worries she dislikes the gift. She clarifies her true feelings softly. Hermie asks for his constant presence. He reacts with hopeful, surprised joy. She plots to win his heart. Everything seems to be proceeding well. His heart swells with newfound emotion. She hugs the petals with determination. Freuk broods over his tea alone. His purple-haired friend arrives unexpectedly. They exchange blunt and sarcastic greetings. The expert scolds Fra for trespassing. Fra counters with mentions of Dekt. The friend offers a listening ear. Frui praises Hermie's recent cute behavior. The expert prepares for a rant. A loud and sudden alarm blares. A sharp clatter rattles the table. They argue over the word cute. Frui's mind fills with her image. He envisions her playful, loving gestures. Freud describes his pounding, dizzy heart. The friend questions Fra's mental state. Freud insists his feelings are unique. The expert diagnoses him with love. A soft murmur follows his confused words. He realizes how she changed him. The expert senses impending narrative doom. Freud proudly introduces his new companion hamster. They clash over their opposing views on fairies. The expert dismisses Freud's dreams as futile. Quiet contemplation fills the blonde noble's mind. He envisions holding a human-sized Hermie tenderly. A soft and gentle touch lingers locally. He yearns to hold her close forever. Dreams of mutual happiness overflow his heart. Captivity reaches its 50th day for Hermie. Hermie calls out for Froix from her cage. He offers her a warm, compliant smile. Their daily routine becomes increasingly, strangely domestic. He stays beside her while he works. Hermie suddenly sits up in her cage. Fra checks on her with soft concern. He offers her more snacks very gently. Hermie kisses his finger in silent gratitude. She explains her small gesture of thanks. Surprise renders the blonde noble completely speechless. He flusteredly demands she move her face. Hermie wonders if the kiss's sensation lingers. One single kiss shifts their entire dynamic. She questions the power of her kiss. She finds his reaction unexpectedly, dangerously cute. Fra finds himself genuinely enjoying her company. Hermie's profile remains serene and deeply thoughtful. Everything surrounding him begins to sparkle brilliantly. She scolds her own growing, dangerous feelings. Rational thought battles with her racing heart. Memories of her true self loom large. She fears losing her magic and beauty. Imagining life as a commoner brings hesitation. She resolves to stop liking her captor. Fra inquires about her silent, deep thoughts. Laughter follows her praise of his mother. His angelic smile captivates her heart completely. Every other man looks like a squid. She requests to see the world outside. Determination to escape her cage grows daily. A greenish-haired man approaches the grand gates. A guard blocks his path with authority. The visitor looks visibly, deeply troubled. He requests to take the ferry back. Uncertainty lingers as he waits outside alone. He regrets his previous waste of materials. Guilt and fear plague his secret intentions. The butler delivers a cold, firm rejection. Shock follows the refusal to meet Fra. Silence greets his inquiry about the fairy. Dread grows that Hermie has met tragedy. The greenish-haired man pauses with a sudden thought. He rubs his chin in deep contemplation. He wonders if he fulfilled his duty. He smiles, deciding his efforts are enough. His carriage rattles away from the estate. The carriage departs the grand, sunlit garden. Sudden tears blur the tiny girl's vision. Her 60th day of confinement feels heavy. A crushing weight settles in her chest. A sharp click sounds as someone enters. She calls out for Froid with relief. He apologizes for his late evening arrival. She admits her intense boredom without him. He offers a tender and blushing apology. She nuzzles his hand, showing her affection. He promises never to abandon his companion. Her fear of isolation grows increasingly painful. Anxiety consumes her when he is away. Suffocation drives her to claw the floor. Total helplessness washes over her small form. She reflects on the pain of uncertainty. He is both her captor and savior. Conflicting emotions swirl within her racing heart. She resolves to avoid losing her sanity. He turns back with a puzzled hum. She begs to play outside her bars. A cold refusal shatters her small hope. He insists she must remain locked away. He bids her a tired goodnight. He walks away, ignoring her desperate calls. He works alone while her cage sits. He notices her unusually calm, quiet behavior. She sulks while playing with a sphere. Her adorable, bird-like devotion warms his heart. Dark impulses to possess her grow stronger. Her request for freedom feels like ice. Fear of her departure keeps him frozen. He acknowledges the cruelty of her imprisonment. He yearns for a spell of control. He hesitates to recall the greenish-haired mage. She beckons him closer with soft words. He leans in to check her mood. She claims his presence is all she needs. His face flushes red at her sweetness. Intense emotion flickers in his blue eyes. He recoils, suddenly overwhelmed by her proximity. She protests, wanting to stay by him. His heart races with unbearable, dizzying affection. His growing obsession is driving him mad. A sudden impact follows her defiant stance. Hermie regrets her hasty request for freedom. She fails to pick her cage's lock. Climbing the top seems her only escape. She crafts an unreliable cotton rope substitute. Childhood tree climbing skills fuel her shaky confidence. Hermie tosses her rope to hook the bars. The metal bars prove dangerously, unexpectedly slippery. Determination flickers in her focused, weary eyes. Her small hand reaches for the cage's peak. Gravity takes hold as Hermie falls backward. A heavy silence fills the ornate room. She clutches her head in sharp, throbbing pain. Dizziness follows her reckless, desperate escape attempt. Exhaustion clouds her vision and her better judgment. A sudden door click interrupts her pained daze. Hermie startles as Fra enters the room. Frox finds her appearance unexpectedly, deeply adorable. He firmly denies her desperate plea for release. Fear of her vanishing keeps him stubbornly defensive. Hermie points out her lack of flight capability. Shock and embarrassment color the tiny girl's face. Frog's expression softens with a hint of guilt. She confesses her affection to stay by him. The tiny cage begins to feel truly suffocating. Froik searches for a way to compromise safely. Hermie realizes she is merely a beautiful collectible. Her role as a pet feels increasingly hollow. Shattered glass represents her broken trust in him. A cold realization settles over the dark scene. Froy wonders why his companion remains hidden. Hermie rejects her favorite treats in silent protest. He struggles to find ways to cheer her. He hopes she will eventually end their standoff. A feverish sweat coats her pale, strained features. Fra approaches the quiet cage with growing concern. He begs the tiny girl to say anything. Her unsteady, swaying walk alarms the blonde noble. Dizziness causes Hermie to stumble and sway. Horror fills Fra's eyes as she collapses. Hermie falls unconscious to the cage's floor. A frantic, terrified scream echoes through the room. The purple-haired expert is shocked by her appearance. Fra demands an immediate medical examination.
They clash over her classification as a person.
The expert identifies her as a genuine fairy. A large bump on her head indicates injury. Fra rubs his temples in deep, guilty distress. The doctor finds Fra's frantic concern quite amusing. He leaves with a warning about a concussion. Fra remains alone, weighed down by his choices. Phrox gently cradles the unconscious tiny girl. Feverish sweat coats Hermie's pained face. She slumps weakly against his large thumb. A cheerful witch mascot shares a message. Sorrow and guilt fill Froy's blue eyes. He praises her incredible and fragile beauty. He notes she lacks typical fairy wings. He realizes she cannot fly to escape. Fra notices 2 tiny moles on her. He discovers more birthmarks on her waist. He wonders about a tiny facial scar. He covers her with a patterned cloak. Her delicate nature finally moves his heart. Guilt consumes him for her harsh confinement. The empty cage represents her lonely days. He realizes he ignored her deep suffering. He admits his actions were utterly thoughtless. A clenched fist reflects his deep regret. He envisions her radiant and happy laughter. He wonders when she captured his heart. She stepped past his emotional defenses easily. Fra watches her with quiet, intense devotion. He recalls her joy over a strawberry. He begs the tiny girl to wake. Hermie wakes with a throbbing, heavy head. She recognizes the blonde noble's soft voice. Relief follows as she sees the bars gone. She regrets not feigning illness much earlier. Fra offers to summon medical help immediately. She fakes dizziness to stay out longer. Shock strikes as she realizes her nudity. Hermie blushes and demands an explanation loudly. Shivering, she complains of the sudden cold. She clings to his face for warmth. Frois asks about the bump on her head. She begs not to be imprisoned again. He asks if her cage was awful. He urges her to lie back down. He promises freedom in the coming morning. She pleads to sleep beside him tonight. A heavy sigh follows as he relents. He moves to prepare a resting spot. She resolves to escape the mansion tonight. The grand estate stands silent under moonlight. Hermie watches Fra sleep from the pillow. She finds his sleeping face truly angelic. She admits he was a kind master. Memories of his tender care fill her. He treated her like a precious treasure. She resolves to choose freedom over love. She envisions Fra finding another collectible. She believes he will forget her soon. A bittersweet wish for Fra's happiness. She whispers gratitude for his affection. Tongue, a heavy wooden crate lands. Workers argue over their guild duties. They mention the fired female accountant. A worker declares his final refusal. Flashback. Vows to confront him. She promises Jen a swift return. Uncle Jen watches her walk away. Taubiak. Her footsteps echo as she leaves. Jen misses her once chirpy presence. A sudden, tiny voice calls him. He wonders if he's hearing things. He looks down toward the floor. Tiny Hermie stands with defiant pride. The grand mage tower crystal glows. An angry crowd shouts at wizards. Accusations of fraud fill the air. Shrunken Hermie demands her original form. Bystanders recognize the shrinking potion's effect. Jen recalls his shock at her state. The head mage arrives to investigate. He warns against causing further trouble. Hermes stares back with resolute intensity.
He suggests speaking inside the tower.
Creak! The ornate door swings open. Lord Dezerna looks on with confusion. Tatak! A small stone hits Dormy. Dormy recoils while Jen holds Hermie.
Hermie vents her rage at him.
She pelts him with more stones.
The head mage questions Dormy's theft.
Dormy offers a weak, stuttering excuse. The head mage refuses the justification. Dormy is led away in disgrace. Hermie hopes for her old life. Sunlight illuminates the blonde noble's mansion. The scene shifts to Frau's bedroom. Froik wakes and greets his companion. He gazes at the empty bedding. Chilling realization strikes his blue eyes. Panic consumes him, finding her gone. Despair grips him at her desk. He desperately denies she would leave. Memories of her beauty haunt him. He searches for any clue left. The empty room holds one lead. He resolves to find the mage. Blonde Froy vows that Hermes' kidnapper won't die peacefully. Human Hermie sighs over a table of untouched treats. The guild thrives again after receiving its compensation money. Hermie reflects on becoming wealthy overnight in her human form. Despite her wealth, Hermie's heart feels strangely, deeply unsettled. Once coveted luxuries no longer hold any appeal for her.
She recalls how Froik comforted her with apple pie.
Memories of Frau's gentle smile haunt her quiet thoughts. She blames Frau's kindness for making her feel so lost. She believes their paths will likely never cross again. Hermie slumps over her desk in a state of melancholy. Tick-tock-tock! A sudden knock at the door interrupts her. She is startled to learn that a noble has arrived.
Hermie decides to greet the visitor while seeking the master.
Tea-tock-tock. She knocks, realizing she forgot the visitor's name. She enters the room, introducing herself as the guild accountant. A blonde man sits waiting on the room's plush sofa. Hermie offers to assist the guest in the master's absence. Pure shock freezes Hermie as she recognizes Frau sitting there. Froix gazes back at her with a calm, piercing intensity. Words fail the terrified girl as she realizes the situation. Distant and small, Hermie feels completely trapped and utterly screwed. She imagines returning the money to survive this dangerous reunion. Running away now would only create a much bigger mess. She resolves to survive first and nervously tries to speak. Hermie forces a bright, shaky smile to mask her panic. Froik speaks her name, making her regret revealing it earlier. Froix finds the situation absurd, clearly recognizing her human face.
She tries to maintain a cheerful facade despite her fear.
Froy listens to her explanation with a cold, distant look. He darkly mentions that his precious fairy has run away. Hermie stammers, feigning ignorance about the existence of any fairy. Tack, Frox corners her against the door with sudden force. He notes her white skin, comparing it to a fairy's. He describes specific moles on her neck that only he knows. His knowledge of her birthmarks proves he knows her identity. Panic flares as she realizes Frau came here on purpose. He threatens the safety of the entire guild if she fails. Froix promises to return in exactly 3 days for her. He whispers his hope that she returns to her cage. Froy's unmistakable order leaves Hermie trembling and alone. She collapses to the floor, feeling the weight of punishment. Sunlight shines over the grand, imposing architecture of the estate. Her trembling hands reflect her deep and growing internal dread. She desperately searches for escape during her 3-day reprieve. The magic tower cruelly denies her any help or recourse. Without the original contract, she has no excuse for Froy. She realizes the mages set her up to take responsibility. Hermie requests a sudden leave of absence from the guild. She holds on to hope that she might one day return. Hermie resolves to return the money and apologize. She naively hopes the Marquis will lose interest. Nervous, cold sweat coats her pale, strained face. The mansion's vast interior feels cold and intimidating. She finally enters the Marquis's private bedroom chambers. She sits alone, dreading another cycle of imprisonment. Creak! The heavy door swings open with a sudden start. The blonde noble greets her with chilling, quiet intensity. Hermie desperately begs him to listen to her explanation. He offers a beautiful, radiant, yet deeply unsettling smile. A tight, crushing embrace follows his long, desperate search. He gently dismisses her apologies with a soft, warm touch. Intense, unwavering devotion shines in his piercing blue eyes.